Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Jennifer. We are a middle-aged couple with a Regal Unlimited subscription and a real interest in movie popcorn.
And no connection, financial or otherwise, to the Regal Corporation. We just happen to live near a Regal movie theater. And we have their unlimited membership, which is you get to see any movie you want for nothing. Well, 50 cents. But you do pay a monthly subscription fee, but yes. Yeah. So it's not really free, but it's cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So we see lots of movies.
Mm-hmm.
And we often see movies very soon after they come out. So we got to see Fantastic Four First Steps today.
Yep.
Very exciting.
Yep.
And drum roll, please. No drum roll. We both liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah. I've had a little bit of time to myself the last week and a half or so, and I decided yesterday morning, we're going to see Fantastic Four.
Yes.
I should rewatch the 3 Fantastic Four movies of the 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think I only thought there were 2.
Yeah.
And then when I went on Disney Plus, I realized there were 3, and I think maybe one of them I saw for the first time yesterday.
Okay.
They all suck bad.
Okay.
And highlighted to me how I think I would have felt about this movie even if I hadn't rewatched those 3 movies yesterday. That this movie is good.
It's genuinely good. It's the new one.
It's much more like, I don't know, just everything about it works,
I would say, so like, people said that Thunderbolts was good, and we were kind of mixed on it, and I didn't like it much at all.
Oh, yeah.
I liked parts of it.
Yeah.
I liked the character interaction, the first half of it in the bunker, but then the bits with the Sentry, I didn't really care for.
Yeah.
This, however, so going into this, I was like, it's a Marvel movie, it's going to be more of the same. It is not. This absolutely feels like one of the early Marvel movies, when they were still taking chances, when they hadn't hit on a formula. And so each movie kind of had its own plot. That wasn't exactly the same as the 18 movies you saw before it.
Yeah. This movie has its own plot, but also its own style and its own universe, actually,
yes.
to be honest. But, its own visual style, its own universe, and those are the best of the Marvel movies, where somebody, whoever that somebody might be, gets to decide this movie looks, sounds, smells almost like this, and it's not like everything else you've seen.
So like Captain America, the first, whatever he's called, First Avenger? Whatever that movie's called. The first Captain America movie, which is set in the 1940s.
Yeah.
Like WandaVision, which is, visually just fascinating because it's sitcoms through the decades. Or Agatha All Along, which is that bizarre, weird Witch's Road dimension.
Yeah.
When Marvel does, like, attempts to do actual visual style that is not just Jason Bourne thriller movie style.
But the movie that does that the best is Black Panther, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that has
Guardians
its own
of the Galaxy.
Universe, its own, real, production design and costume design, where every little detail is consistent in whatever a specific vision is. That makes sense. Yeah, this has that similar feeling.
So, we're not going to spoil anything that isn't in the trailer. But so this movie takes place in a version of the 1960s, but it is a different universe from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's a different universe from our universe. It's a universe where the Fantastic Four took their fateful trip in the 1960s, and that has changed that world completely. From what you would think of Earth in the 1960s. So it is allowed to have this sort of technological style that is 60s era reminiscent, but isn't totally beholden to that. It is allowed...
It's like a mid-century modern version of what the future would look like. in terms of the futuristic-y kind of part of it, but it's also like the 1920s vision of what the 1950s and 60s would look like in reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's got its own visual language, its own visual alphabet, which is amazing. It looks great, with the possible exception of the Silver Surfer, although you said you were okay with her.
No, I mean, I thought the Silver Surfer looked great. I mean, what else are you going to do to make the Silver Surfer look like a Silver Surfer?
Yeah.
It's the one thing visually that is not particularly different from the 2007 movie that had the Silver Surfer in it. Like, you know, it looks pretty similar, like just as a still image.
Mm-hmm.
The CGI and motion capture stuff to make it more fluid is better done, obviously, but it doesn't look particularly different, and it doesn't. I don't know what it looks like in the comics, but if it's a Silver Surfer,
mm-hmm.
what else is it going to look like? Like, it looks like the Terminator in Terminator 2. You know, the Robert Patrick Terminator and Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Like, what else could that character look like? It's just the technology would make the Silver look better.
Yeah, in the comics, and the comics use some very clever artistic methods to make it look like Silver, but the Silver Surfer looks like, you know, those guys who wear the green bodysuits?
Yeah.
Looks like that.
Yeah, that's what this person looked like, except doused in a nickel melted down.
Yeah, I felt it looked a little too cartoonish compared to the rest of the movie.
Oh,
but
I don't agree.
It's you know, I'm quibbling because otherwise this movie looks amazing.
Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
How is it not going to look?
It's going to look cartoonish.
Ridiculous and cartoonish.
Fair,
the concept
this is all fair.
ridiculous.
This is all fair. I feel like I'm just sort of grasping at straws because honestly, I liked almost everything about this movie.
Yeah.
I think it has some real heart to it. I think that the characters are all given room to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a very simple plot.
Yes.
That was something I really noticed watching this, compared to a lot of Marvel movies that are just, you know, oh, we got to find the MacGuffin to add to the matrix of MacGuffins, and then we're going to duplicate them through the cosmic duplication ray, and then that allows us to activate the Framistam of the widget.
Exactly.
No, there's none of that.
And when you have 4 characters like the Fantastic Four, it lends itself even more to that.
Yes.
Because then one of them goes off and does the thingamajig to find the thingamajig that then connects to what the second one is doing, and then the third one accidentally fucks it up. And this is not like that.
And this is absolutely a movie that could have gone that route, because this is the Fantastic Four, so it's all about scientification and mysterious techno-objectification babble. And and gizmos and widgets, but they're used very sparingly in the movie and very carefully in a way that never feels like you're just being told, oh, you need to climb through the Jeffries tube to get to the pulse oxidation meter. No, there's nothing like that. It's everything is very clear about what they're trying to do. There is high technology stuff in the movie, but it's clearly defined and very visually distinct enough that you're like, oh yes, I understand what they're trying to say about this.
Yeah.
Like I say, the plot is quite simple, and yet each of the characters is given a real arc and given real things to do in the movie. They are absolutely allowed to be important to this film, which you sometimes don't see in like team movies.
Yep.
So
particularly team movies that are not origin stories.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is not an origin story, but I'm not sure why it's called First Steps when it's not an origin story, but there you go. It's.
I can think of a reason that would be a spoiler.
Okay, fair enough. Except it's in the trailer. But anyway.
Whatever. I really have not seen the trailer, so I'm being extra decorous.
So the other thing I really liked about this movie is that recently I've been noticing in Marvel movies, you get this thing where the director, the actors, the scriptwriter, whatever, are embarrassed about being in a comic book movie, and they try to apologize to the viewer for the silliness of comic bookishness. Now, you'll see this in the trailer. A big part of the trailer for Fantastic Four First Steps is Ben Grimm, the Thing, refusing to say it's clobberin' time, despite the fact that everybody wants him to say his famous catchphrase. And it almost feels like he's saying, oh, that's such a silly thing to say, whereas this is absolutely central to the comic book character. And one of the things people love about the comic book character. And I'm going to compare this movie to Superman, to James Gunn's Superman in a minute, but I think it does a similar thing to that movie in that most of the movie they do not apologize for this being a comic book movie.
Yeah.
They are absolutely okay with the comic book origins of these characters. The characters wear the costumes that they wear in the comic book, not super enhanced spandex, Under Armour, dark and gritty versions of them. No, these are straight up the blue and white and black suits from the comic book. Mr. Fantastic is allowed to use his stretching powers, although very little. It doesn't use them a lot in the movie, but Kevin Feige, who runs the Marvel movies these days, is very famous for hating stretchy powers, to the point where he wouldn't let Ms. Marvel have stretch powers. She instead has these weird like force projections, like hard light projections, whatever, in her show. But here, Mr. Fantastic is in fact stretching his arms and legs, and it's done pretty well.
Yeah.
Interestingly, so in the comic, often Mr. Fantastic is the main character, and everybody else is just there to put his plans into action. This movie, they 100% said, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And every one of the four is given a real part and separate part of the movie to take on.
I was really surprised at how much of an ensemble piece it was.
Yes.
You know, like, I mean, you know, it could be, it should be, again, having watched the other three movies, you know, the yesterday, like, you know, they were all some variety of ensemble piece, but, you know, this was, like, all four of them were needed to make the movie the movie. All four of them were needed to make the plot work. You know, like, it really was an ensemble thing, rather than, you know, one or two of the characters kind of overshadowing the others.
Right. And the camaraderie between the characters is also very strong.
Yeah.
This is not a movie about a bunch of people bickering with each other,
Yeah.
which so many Marvel movies just devolve into. And you think about, like, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you know, you think about the Avengers, frankly. Like, so many Marvel movies are about big personalities butting heads and alpha males trying to out-alpha each other. That is not the case here.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of tension between each of them.
Yeah,
but
in ways
understandable.
It's understandable and makes sense in the plot. And yeah, I mean, it's this sense of team and what team can mean, and team and family, right? So it's not everybody is just mindlessly, seamlessly harmonious,
right?
But that they figure out how to work together, which they already knew how to do. But, like, you know, they figure out how to work together, and they work together
and when they have
eventually well.
And when they have true differences, they do work them out.
Yeah.
They figure it out. They don't just let that fester for the entire movie.
Or turn it into a civil war.
Right. And then at the end, you know, slap each other on the back and say, I guess you weren't so bad after all. No, They love each other. This is four people who truly love each other, who have been through a harrowing experience and used it to make their world a better place.
Yep.
And it's so inspiring. It's like, that is so rare in these movies.
Yep.
Most of these movies, we are barely, you know, most the Avengers, the attitude is always, we are barely sitting on the lid of the trash can. That if we aren't constantly doing war crimes, the supervillains are going to kill everybody on Earth. That's the attitude of the Avengers movies. This is, we are the Future Foundation. We are going to find a way to solve all the world's problems with technology or diplomacy or who knows what, but they'll find a way. And the optimism of it is very, very strong. And it's just, that makes it fun.
Yeah.
They're in a dire situation. This is, you know, if you've seen the trailer, you know this is the Silver Surfer and Galactus again. And it's a story we've seen before. It's a bad situation to be in. It is the doom of the Earth, and they are dealing with it. But they deal with it in such a way that you feel like they truly care about Earth and really want to save Earth, and they will do anything in their power, and they will ask other people to help them when they need to.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really powerful message for this movie, and I really enjoyed it. I think the politics of this movie are absolutely in the right place. There's a strong streak of feminism running through this, which is one of the major criticisms of the Fantastic Four, in that, in the original version, Sue Storm / Sue Richards was called the Invisible Girl, not the Invisible Woman, and her personality was the girl. Not here. She is given 100% front row seat to this movie and absolutely takes advantage of it.
Absolutely.
Johnny Storm, traditionally the hothead, the Human Torch, who's rushes off to do his own thing, and they have to go chasing after him. Not here. He truly is trying to help the team, really wants to be part of it, wants to get Reed Richards' approval, in this sort of like little bro, big bro kind of way that is really inspiring. I keep saying inspiring, but that's what this movie is. I think The Thing gets the least to do in the movie.
The Thing gets the least to do in the movie, and what that character does get to do is more symbolic than actually meaningful to the plot. But I think it's still
he does get to be the pilot.
Yes.
And does a lot of really fancy piloting in this movie because there's a lot of spaceship sequences. But I'm pushing up against spoilers, so I should stop that. So, what did you think of this compared to Superman?
I liked this a lot, and I found it much more compelling than Superman. I found Superman really just disjointed in terms of, it's in some ways you can see some parallels to them in the sense that both of them start inside something already happening, but the Fantastic Four explains it, right? In maybe too fast, in too info dumpy a way, but it explains it and feels the need, understands that you should have an explanation, and that's not just like a slide on the screen that tells you 300 years of info dump, right?
Fair enough.
It's the beginning of the Fantastic Four movie gives you a backdrop, but the backdrop isn't 300 years of story, and so it doesn't explain everything about the universe that it's in, which is fine, but it explains enough for every single thing in the story to make sense. And then the story is mostly not humorous, right? There are definitely some jokes and some humorous elements in it, and there are places where you are supposed to laugh and you laugh. But it's mostly a pretty serious story about, people trying to figure out how to deal with threats. Like, there's more to it than that, but, but it is a story about people behaving in the ways that people do. Like, like the motivations and the actions, while they're grandiose because they're superhero actions and super technology that doesn't exist, but the human actions make sense. And I don't feel like in Superman the human actions always made sense. And the tonal shifts in that movie of things that are supposed to be goofy and things that you're supposed to take dead seriously, sometimes happening at the same time, like it just didn't make sense.
Right.
And this, I felt like was completely coherent. This is the movie that in my mind, this is the movie that I think Superman wishes it was. Yeah. And for me, it was not.
I can totally see that. I totally see everything you're saying. I think I liked Superman a lot more than you did.
Yep.
And I'll go into that in a second, but I think that you're absolutely right. So, one thing is that Superman has an incredibly complicated plot.
Yes.
And so it's totally
like,
all
what?
over the map. Yeah, it's trying to do so many different things at once. And so, yes, it's all over the map. It has a lot more characters. It has a lot more superheroes in it. This one is very focused, and it absolutely that it's one of its great strengths.
Yes.
In that you always know what problem the characters are dealing with now, and what their plan is to do with it next, and how they respond to their plan not quite working out. Whereas Superman, absolutely, it was like, oh, well, this happened, so now we have to get this other character, recruit that character to do this thing that will then open up an entirely new universe in this movie that we then have to close up with that character, and then this other character is introduced. Absolutely, yeah, it's a mess. In that sense, I still think it works really well. Now, I think what these two movies share, Superman and Fantastic Four: First Steps, is, like I say, this absolute commitment to the material, of saying the comic books are not dumb, the comic books are not embarrassing, people loved those comic books, here's why, and we're going to give you our best attempt at demonstrating why those things were fun and entertaining, if not even fun, but just entertaining. And I think they both succeed at that. You can disagree with me, and I know you do.
Well, maybe it's the source material then, right? Because Superman, if you're going to stick with the comic, has this real world element to it. Like Metropolis is not New York City or Chicago or whatever, but it is clearly a big human city in the human world, right? Where superhero-y things happen, but otherwise, like, physics and human behavior and cultural norms are all, pretty much the same. And the Fantastic Four, I guess I don't know in the comic, but the way this movie posits it, it's not exactly this world. Mm-hmm. It's really close, but it clearly is not exactly this world. And that gives it some freedom. And gives me some freedom to, when people don't behave the way I would expect them to, you can hand wave it away because it is not this world. Mm-hmm. Where, if Superman is meant to be the real world or something like our real world, then it's harder to hand wave that stuff away. And it doesn't make sense. And the way they did it doesn't make sense. Like, it's not like I haven't swallowed that in Superman performances before, right? It's not that I can't grasp Superman as a character, but that movie just didn't carry it off.
Okay. So I agree with everything you just said. And we're not gonna get into a big argument again. We already talked about that in the Superman movie. But I will say that, so to me, what's really interesting about these two movies is they're both rebooting entire franchises. So the DC universe, especially in the Zack Snyder era, got into this idea that the superheroes were, especially the Justice League, were essentially gods, and they were replacements for human mythology. That they were pantheons of godlike beings who were not really human in any given way, and so they didn't have to have human stories. They had these larger-than-life sort of operatic stories. The Marvel Universe got stuck in this idea that all Marvel movies should be basically spy thrillers, or at least some of them, especially the Captain America stuff.
Or origin stories.
Origin stories, sure.
It's like 50 zillion characters, and they each have their origin story.
Right, but I'm thinking specifically of the train from Captain America: The Winter Soldier through Civil War, through Falcon and the Winter Soldier, through Black Widow. All these movies where you have superheroes fighting guys in combat armor, like soldiers. Mm-hmm. And I've never really enjoyed that. I want to see superheroes fighting supervillains. I want to see people in costumes, flying around and shooting power beams at each other. I don't want to see, Anthony Mackie beating up Giancarlo Esposito in the middle of a busy street while they're throwing each other into Humvees. That didn't work for me ever. It didn't work in Secret Invasion. Another one. And this is not that at all. This is 100%. This is superheroes living in a superhero world. And the threats they are facing are superhero threats. And those are supervillains, and they are cosmic level threats and so on, but treated very much like supervillain versus superhero. Superman, I think, did the same thing where even Lex Luthor, who is just a capitalist, he's a billionaire, has that sort of goofy superhero attitude, supervillain attitude of, oh, I am full of envy and I just want to defeat Superman. I don't want to, short sell this stock and make, get new real estate in California. No, he wants to defeat Superman. And so both of these movies reboot their entire franchise to be about superheroes, and specifically superheroes who enjoy helping people and want to do good and want to make the world a better place. And I think that is so refreshing. And the two movies really gave me some faith for the next crop of these movies. I think Thunderbolts, it just felt so underwhelming because it was just these bickering people who were, some of them had real superpowers, some of them didn't, but they were just bickering all the time and just fighting over who was the big alpha and who wasn't, and whose life was harder or whatever. And then you get this incredibly powerful threat and they're just like, ugh, I guess we'll handle it. Whereas I feel like in Superman and Fantastic Four First Steps, you get these people who truly have committed themselves to making the world a better place. And that, I'm saying this over and over again, I'm repeating myself at this point, but it really is powerful for me. And it's why I like superhero stories to begin with. So,
I liked Thunderbolts more than you did, and I feel like Thunderbolts suffered partially from, it being a series of afterthought characters from other parts of the Marvel Universe that people weren't particularly connected to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a movie that, is fundamentally fronted by women,
Yep.
in ways that are not the ways that you're supposed to think about women.
Mm-hmm.
And, without getting into too much of spoilers, the Fantastic Four has this feminist element to it, but in a way in which you are supposed to think about women. And, it's not lost on me that this movie and other movies like it will always do much better than Black Widow or Thunderbolts that are led by women characters that just basically happen to be female. I mean, I guess that's not true in the Black Widow movie, but yeah. So I really very much liked Fantastic Four, but it's not necessarily like it has a feminist dimension to it, but it's not fundamentally a feminist movie.
It's not blazing new ground in that field, absolutely. And as a black woman, I'm sure you had some thoughts on this movie as well. There's a black female character in the movie whose job is basically to be a secretary.
Who may also be the head of the UN. I mean, I don't even know, to be honest, because the character was so minimal. Sarah Niles continuing to get roles, which I find impressive, even if they're not necessarily great roles. But, this is a 1960s New York, and it is straight out New York. It's not anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
That is way wider than 1960s New York. But, I'm not unsurprised by those things. So it just, I take it as read. But, yeah.
I guess I would say that Superman has a strong black character, very forward-facing role.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in that sense, like, the world that Superman inhabits is more multiracial than in Fantastic Four, even though the movie is very committed to the idea of being about the world, mm-hmm. even though they are American and they're not anything other than American.
And Pedro Pascal is playing a white man.
Yeah, but they're meant to represent the world, and there's parts in the plot where they have to work with people from around the world, but you don't see that. It's like discussed. You don't see it. Mm-hmm. And in a way where Superman, you see that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. So, which is all which is to say that Fantastic Four is a really good movie. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Superman. I'm really kind of looking forward now to more superhero movies, which is something I didn't think I was going to say in 2025.
Well, see, this, I think, is where the big problem lies. There is literally no way whatever comes next after Fantastic Four will be as good. It just can't be, right? Like, we've
fair.
gone through all this, Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff, and how many of those movies are eminently forgettable. And, Black Panther, which I've seen 7,500 times, Black Panther 2 is not that good. It really is not. And, I want it to be better than it is. It's 75 movies jammed together as one because it was trying to do too much stuff.
Yep.
And, so if there is no Fantastic Four 2, if it just becomes part of some bigger thing, that would be great, right? Go back to kind of the old school phases where these things all add up, and you do need to watch all of them because they all add up, but it's also possible to watch all of them because they all add up, because it's 2 or 3 movies a year, right? Like, you watch that and it all adds up. But if it's anything more than that, it's, they will do what they've done with everything else before and go, oh, you liked Fantastic Four? Well, how about Fantastic Four 2? How about Fantastic Four showing up in something else that's going to make you want to watch the something else because you think the Fantastic Four is going to be in it? If they do Marvel with this, this movie will be the high watermark for then another 4 or 5 kind of indifferent movies, and maybe some other movie down the line that pulls that all together that then really works, because that person is allowed to have their own individual vision. But that's what made this interesting and compelling, is that it is an individual vision.
Absolutely.
And if anything else, another movie has to be someone just telling another story in exactly this same universe, which somehow Marvel is like never satisfied with doing.
Sure.
Like, I would be perfectly interested in seeing another story of the Fantastic Four doing something else in this same universe. That will not happen.
No, we know it won't, because the next movie is Avengers Doomsday, which
I don't think that's actually the next Marvel movie.
It may not be the next one, but that's what's coming.
That's coming.
And that's the next time we're going to see the Fantastic Four.
Let's hope. Let's hope they don't jam them into something else.
This is not spoilers. This is press release stuff that they put out. So the next movie, or the next Avengers movie, Avengers Doomsday, is going to include the Fantastic Four, the Sony Pictures X-Men. It's going to include, who else? Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom.
Yeah. See, that's already too much.
Yeah.
That's already too much.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
it's going to be this collision of all the different universes.
Exactly.
And they're just kind of like trying to reboot the whole multiverse thing that people got so tired of to begin with.
Exactly.
And it's a real dangerous game they're playing.
Yeah.
And
I don't expect it to work.
I don't expect it to work either, but who knows? I didn't expect this to work.
But motherfucker, you know that we're going to watch the movie, and that's therefore why they keep making them. We reward them for their own mediocrity.
We can't really vote with our pocketbook because A, we're Regal Unlimited members, so we're going to see these movies for 50 cents. It's not really there's no voting here, right? And secondly, it's like we're going to see the movies so we can make videos about them. So
well, it's not just that. Like, I am, they got me. They got me a very long time ago. It's partially your fault, but they got me.
But that was something we really, at the very beginning of our relationship, is something we started bonding over. Was Marvel movies.
Well, I mean, I was about to just be like, oh, fuck it. I had missed
Thor 2.
I had missed Thor 2. And I'm like, oh, well, if I missed that, I can't keep watching them. And I think the next thing that was coming out was the Avengers movie. And you were like, no, we got to see that. Like, you can just watch Thor 2. It'll be fine. And I did. And I'm like, there's a reason I skipped that movie, because that movie sucks balls.
Okay.
But then I really like the Avengers movies. So then, yeah, we have watched literally every other one since in the movie theater together.
We have. It's true.
Yeah.
And we'll watch the next one.
Yes, we will.
So don't worry, folks. Plenty of videos yet to come.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But until next time, I think that's about enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our longest video ever.
Yeah, for true. But we always go on forever and ever about
We
Marvel
do.
movies
We
because there are 36 other ones
Yeah.
that factor into our thinking about this one. This is the 37th of these
And
things.
they do keep us talking,
Yes, they do.
even when it's complaining.
Yep.
Okay. Bye, folks. We'll see you next time.
Bye.